has been repeated for 2,000 years. In sermons, in paintings, in films, in arguments, in confessions, in whispers. And almost everything that most people think they know about her is wrong. Mary Magdalene is perhaps the most misrepresented figure in all of Christian history. A woman whose story has been buried under centuries of assumption, misreading, and deliberate distortion, until what remains in the popular imagination bears almost no resemblance to the woman the Gospels actually describe. She was not a prostitute. The Bible never says that, not once. She was not the unnamed, sinful woman who washed Jesus' feet with her tears. That is a different person entirely. She was not a romantic interest, a secret wife, or a convenient symbol for fallen femininity. Those are stories invented by people who needed her to be something smaller than what she actually was. What the Gospels record is something far more remarkable. Mary Magdalene was the first person to see the risen Christ. Not Peter, the leader of the disciples, not John, the beloved, not any of the 12 men who had walked with Jesus through 3 years of ministry. A woman, this woman, first. That was not accidental, and by the end of this, you will understand exactly why. We know very little about Mary's early life, and the Bible does not offer us much. She came from Magdala, a prosperous fishing town on the western shore of the Sea of Galilee. In the 1st century, Magdala was a busy commercial place. Not a small, forgotten village, but a real city with a real economy. Which means Mary was not necessarily poor or marginalized by circumstance alone. What the Gospel of Luke tells us is this. Jesus had been traveling from town to town, preaching the good news. And with him were the 12 disciples, and also some women who had been healed of evil spirits and diseases. And among them was Mary, called Magdalene, from whom 7 demons had gone out. 7 demons. We do not know what that looked like in practical terms. We do not know whether it manifested as illness, as torment, as something the ancient world described in ways that we might categorize differently today. The text does not give us clinical detail. What it tells us is the weight of it. 7, not 1, not a passing affliction, something prolonged, something consuming, something that had defined her, perhaps for years, and had taken everything from her that suffering takes. Dignity, peace, the ability to simply exist without being at war with yourself. And then, Jesus came to Magdala, and it stopped. The text does not dramatize it. It does not describe the moment in detail. It simply states it as fact. The way you state something that has become so foundational to a person's entire life that no elaboration is needed. She had been delivered. And after that, everything changed. What changed specifically was this. Mary Magdalene followed Jesus. Not casually, not occasionally. She became one of a group of women who traveled with him, who supported his ministry from their own resources, and who stayed close through everything that followed. And what followed was not easy. She was there for the ministry in Galilee. She was there for the journey toward Jerusalem. She was there when the crowd turned. She was there when the religious authorities moved against him. She was there for all of it. And then came the night everything collapsed. When Jesus was arrested in Gethsemane, the disciples fled. The 12 men who had been with him, who had heard every teaching, witnessed every miracle, declared their loyalty through 3 years of shared road. They scattered. Peter followed at a distance, then denied knowing him 3 times before the night was over. But the women did not leave. The Gospels record that Mary Magdalene was present at the crucifixion, standing near the cross, watching, not fleeing, not hiding, not pretending she had never known him. She was there while he died. In the ancient world, a public execution was not a private grief. It was a spectacle of state power. To be seen in open proximity to a condemned man was to risk being associated with him. It required something that went beyond loyalty. It required a willingness to be publicly identified with someone the authorities had decided to destroy. She stayed anyway. And then, 3 days later, before dawn, while it was still dark, Mary Magdalene went to the tomb. She went alone, in the dark, to a sealed tomb, to grieve a man she believed was simply and permanently dead. There was no theological expectation in her grief, no anticipation of what was about to happen. She went the way humans go to the graves of people they have loved, not with hope, but because love does not simply stop needing somewhere to go. When she arrived, the stone had been moved. John's Gospel gives us the most detailed account of what followed, and it is worth sitting with carefully, because every detail matters. Mary ran back and told Peter and John. They came, they saw the empty linen burial cloths, and they left. The text says they went home. They returned to where they were staying
The tomb is
and
empty.
processed what they
But
had
how?
seen behind closed
I saw the
doors.
burial cloths myself.
Mary stayed, alone, weeping at the entrance to the tomb. She looked inside and saw two angels
told me you
seated
were
where
gone.
Jesus' body had been.
Why do you
They
seek the
asked her
living
why
among
she
the
was
dead?
weeping.
Where is
She
he?
said,
They have taken my Lord away, and I don't know where they have put him.
then she turned around, and there was a figure standing in the garden. She did not recognize him. She assumed he was the gardener. He asked the same question the angels had asked. Why are you weeping? Who are you looking for? She said,
Sir, if you have carried him away, tell me where you have put him, and I will go and get him.
and then he said
Do not
one
be
word,
afraid.
her name, Mary.
It is I.
And she turned. The text says she turned. And she said to him in Aramaic, Rabboni, teacher. One word to recognize him, one word in return. This is the moment that defines Mary Magdalene. Not her past, not the 7 demons, not the centuries of misidentification and slander that followed. This moment. Her name, his voice, her response. Jesus then gave her an instruction
You must
that
listen
no one in the
closely
gospel
now.
narrative had received before.
The time
He
has
said,
come.
Go and tell my brothers that I am ascending to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God.
What if I'm
Go
not ready?
and tell.
I am telling you the
In a
truth
culture
of
where
what
the
happened.
testimony of
How
women
can you sit
was
there
not
and
considered
ignore my
legally
testimony?
valid,
This is
in a world where
injustice.
female disciples were already pushing against the edges of what religious society permitted. To the 12 who were currently hiding in a locked room in Jerusalem, uncertain, grieving, afraid, Jesus sent a woman. He chose Mary Magdalene as the first witness to the resurrection and the first herald of the news that would become the entire foundation
risen.
of Christian faith.
He is risen.
The theological weight of that choice cannot be overstated. The resurrection is not a footnote in Christian teaching. Paul would write decades later that if Christ has not been raised, your faith is futile. The entire structure of Christian belief stands or falls on whether Jesus rose from the dead. And God chose a woman who had been tormented by 7 demons to be the first to see it, the first to know it, and the first to be sent with the news. The early church gave her a title. Some traditions call her Apostola Apostolorum, the apostle to the apostles, the one sent to the ones who were sent. That title belongs to Mary Magdalene. So how did we end up here? with a woman of such extraordinary standing reduced in the popular imagination to a reformed prostitute on the margins of the story. In 591 AD, Pope Gregory I delivered a homily in which he merged Mary Magdalene with two other women mentioned in the Gospels, the unnamed sinful woman in Luke 7, and Mary of Bethany, the sister of Lazarus. There is no textual basis for either identification. They are three separate women, each described separately in different contexts for different reasons. But the homily was delivered with authority. It was repeated. It was absorbed into art, into theology, into literature. And for over 1,000 years, the conflated image, the repentant sinner, the fallen woman redeemed by proximity to Christ, became the dominant story. The Catholic Church officially acknowledged the error in 1969. The Eastern Orthodox Church had never made the conflation at all. Protestant scholarship has long recognized the problem, but 1,000 years of paintings, plays, sermons, and stories had already done their work. The image persisted long after the correction. What the actual Gospels give us is something more precise and far more powerful. A woman who suffered deeply and was set free. A woman whose loyalty outlasted every male disciple's courage on the worst night of the story. A woman who stood at the cross when it cost something to stand there. A woman who went to the tomb before dawn because love had nowhere else to go. A woman who was called by name in a garden by the man she thought she had lost forever. And a woman who ran back to the city and told the disciples what she had seen, carrying the most consequential news in human history, because she had been told to go and tell. Mary Magdalene was not the woman on the margins of the story. She was the witness at the center of it. And if you have spent your life feeling like your past disqualifies you, like the weight of what you carried before means you cannot be trusted with anything important, cannot be given anything significant, cannot stand anywhere near the center of what God is doing, then pay close attention to what God did with Mary Magdalene. He did not give her a supporting role after healing her. He gave her the most important announcement in history, and he called her by name first. The tomb was empty. The stone had been rolled away, and in a quiet garden, before the sun had fully risen, God looked at a woman who had known what it was to be consumed by darkness, and he said her name. That is the story of Mary Magdalene, not the version history invented, the one the Gospels actually tell.